Time now for a look through the world's press with Deeptika Law. Thanks for joining me on set, Deeptika. Now, tell me about this spying scandal in the UK. We've not covered it loads here on France 24, but it's affecting Keir Starmer's government.
Yeah, that's right. And it's really to do, Peter, with rare public comments issued on Thursday by Ken McCallum. He's the head of MI5, the domestic intelligence agency. And in those comments, he said that China poses a daily threat to Britain's national security. As you can see, his comments really dominating the headlines today from The Guardian, The Daily Telegraph, The Times here, the FT, Financial Times, Daily Mirror as well. And indeed, on the front of the Daily Mirror, they echo his words. China is a threat every day. His comments are really now putting pressure on British authorities, the government, Keir Starmer's government, and prosecutors to explain why charges leveled against two men, Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, for spying for China were dropped. These charges were dropped just before they were due to stand trial in a trial that was considered largely a open and shut case. Now, the Daily Mirror explains here that prosecutors considered that China was not a national security threat or a threat to an enemy of the UK at the time that these state secrets were allegedly divulged. This is around 2021 to 2023. Now, there's a pretty good explanation here in the Wall Street Journal today that looks at also how this has sort of been become a really a political hot button issue. The journal explaining that the British opposition party has used this case to attack Keir Starmer's government, accusing him of pandering to the Chinese state by dropping the case in order to secure bilateral trade ties.
And it's got opinion columnists scribbling away as well, hasn't it?
Yes, that's right. A lot of ink has been spilt over this case, Peter. Now, this is in the Daily Mirror. This is the editorial, which basically says that the government just needs to decide where China stands, where it stands on China. Is China a foe or a friend? And if it's a friend, well, then it can continue doing trade with it. But if it's a foe, then it needs to be very clear that it is indeed an enemy. Meanwhile, the Global Times, this is the state-run Chinese newspaper, also covering this, really relaying comments from Chinese ministries as vehemently denying the accusations of spying, while noting here in its headline here that the spy case has been turned also into a partisan brawl in Britain, it says.
Right, and on another note, in the US, something that we've not touched upon in the bulletin, but that you've been looking at, is the mayoral race for New York City.
Yeah, that's right. It's heating up just for some weeks, actually, because the mayoral race will be taking place on November the 4th. Here's what to know about the New York City mayoral candidates. These are the three main candidates. You have Zoran Mamdani, who's running for the Democrats. The Republican candidate is Curtis Sliwa, who's actually the founder of Guardian Angels, which is a unarmed crime prevention not-for-profit. And here on the right is Andrew Cuomo, who is a former governor of New York, running as an independent. Now, this election, the New York Times reminds us, it has huge stakes. The mayoral budget of New York City is $100 billion. The mayor is also in charge of running America's largest school system and biggest local police department. So the stakes are high. And as the New York Times explains, the first debate was really characterized by a bitter and combative tone. Zoran Mamdani, really seen as a young upstart, attacking Cuomo on issues like affordable rent. Cuomo, meanwhile, tackling him predictably over his limited political experience, but also on his views on Israel, because Mamdani, of course, is a fierce critic of Israel. He was also forced to reiterate his belief that Hamas should lay down arms after previously refusing to answer the question. Now, the wide-ranging debate also asked candidates about their average grocery bill, rent, and rather randomly whether they would partake in a New York parade.
Oh, I can't wait to see that, whoever it ends up being.
The hard-hitting issues.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. Was there a winner? Did the papers come out in favour of anyone?
Well, it depends on who you read, really. If you read the New York Post, which is a conservative tabloid, Zoran Mamdani, first of all, the paper deplores what they call his, quote, vile views and worst politics. They say he flopped in the debate. His answers were defensive. He came across as petulant. Nonetheless, the paper does concede that if he did badly, Cuomo did even worse, failing to halt Mamdani's march to mayoralty. Whereas Politico has a bit of a different take here. It says that Zoran Mamdani did what he needed and he finished on top, really saying there were no major slip-ups on his part, and he dominated much of the 2-hour debate with his, quote, affable, calm demeanor.
Now, we've all heard of the Met Gala, but what about the pink ball that the British Museum is hosting this weekend, Deepti?
Well, it is indeed a ball, a gala of sorts. Around 800 guests will be gracing not the red carpet, but the pink carpet laid out in front at the British Museum. It's the inaugural fundraising pink ball, where tickets go for about £2,000 each. It's invite only. It's the brainchild of Nicholas Cullinan. He's a director of the British Museum, and he does deny that it's just a carbon copy of the Met Gala, saying that the focus is not on fashion but on culture, with guests from academia, film, literature, sports, and politics. This year's theme is inspired by India. So Indian food will be served. It'll be co-hosted by Isha Ambani, an Indian businesswoman, and Anushka Shankar providing the music.
We do insist on becoming more like the US, don't we, in the UK? Thank you very much, Deepti. That was a really interesting look at the papers today.